Welcome to On the Light. I'm your host, Susan Johnson. Today, I'm joined by longtime Iyengar Yoga teacher, Mary Reilly. Mary began practicing yoga in the early days of Iyengar Yoga in the United States, studying with teachers who had just returned from India after working directly with B.K.S. Iyengar. What began as a simple attempt to regain her concentration after finishing a demanding biology degree quickly became a lifelong path of practice and study. In this conversation, Mary shares what it was like to encounter Iyengar Yoga in its early years, her first trips to Pune during the intensive programs at the Institute, and the profound lessons she absorbed from Guruji and Geeta Iyengar. We also talk about the art of teaching, including Mary's memorable experience participating in the filmed teaching demonstration known as The Art of Teaching in Chicago. Along the way, Mary reflects on listening with the body, trusting the intelligence of practice, and what it means to teach from the heart rather than simply from the mind. Please enjoy my conversation with Mary Reilly. Hi, Mary. Thank you for joining me today. Let's start with how you came to Iyengar Yoga. What was your introduction to that?
Interesting. I had just graduated from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor with a biology degree,
Mm-hmm.
which was very intense. Every science you had to take, and pretty much my fellow students were pre-medi, you know. So it was a very intense degree, and I left that feeling a little, I don't know, you'd probably say right now ADD or ADHD, just really concerned about my concentration.
Mm.
And I took a job as a coordinator of a food co-op. And that was great. It was very different, very earthy. But one of my coworkers once told me that she had done her Iyengar yoga practice for 4 hours. And it just stunned me. I had a second job teaching gymnastics to little children at the Y where she was taking yoga. And she
Okay.
said, you should try this because it would be so cheap for you. Because I was, teaching there and they give me a discount. And I took her up on it and I tried it. No one knew what Iyengar Yoga was. This was the first program in the country. Our main teacher, Mary Palmer, was Mary Dunn's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw a copy of Light on Yoga and said, I'm going to India to study with this man before the Institute was even there. He was still teaching in his home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how early it was in Iyengar Yoga. I was a little low on money, so I did not like it right away, but I kept going because I paid for it. What really happened for me was my concentration started coming back.
Mm.
I was, what, 22. I had this gymnastics background. I was comfortable in my body that way, but it was it was like this is the only thing I've done different is study this yoga. So that has to be it. And that was my hook.
Uh,
I was the youngest person in these classes. They were middle-aged women. I was 21 and 22 maybe. But that was it. And then, studying with teachers like Mary Palmer right when they came back from India was kind of like, whoa, you just knew you were into something really amazing. And then I had my first child in the next year or two there, and the process of going through pregnancy with it and then coming back into my body with it, with my daughter going to the first thing she went away from me was the daycare at the Y. And so it was really with me in these really important years and was so amazing in these really important years that I have never left it for even a month. I'm 69 and I was 22, so it's been a long haul.
I
Yeah.
was pretty young.
Yeah.
Were there any fellow students there with you at the Y, people that are still teaching yoga today?
Yes, eventually.
Hmm.
Yes, Sue Solania, Glory Blakeney, they became part of the program. I didn't
Mhm.
know them right off the bat. It depends on what class you're going to, and I was just going to the one class. But yes, a
Yeah.
lot of people that are still doing yoga were there in that program at the time.
Wow.
Yeah,
So then at what point did you make it to Pune yourself?
right. That was a long time. It was 6 years. My daughter was 6 when I
Mhm.
finally went to Pune, and at that point they were called intensives, and you had to, apply and get accepted to the intensive, and you went with the senior teacher. My two senior teachers I was with at the time were Ramana Patel and Mary Dunn. And I think my first one was with Ramana Patel, my first intensive group. And so it was just 30 of us in the room.
Mhm.
And they, expected a lot, and they should have. We were taking all their energy, and we were there. It was extreme to go to India at the time. So it was quite intensive. It was, the whole morning, the whole afternoon, and practices in between. So you just didn't have anything left for anything after that. But we came home just so full from those. They were really wonderful that way.
Mhm. Yeah, I
And
bet.
I went about every 3 years. I wasn't one of the every year people because I had another child, and it's a lot to leave your family for that long when the kids are young.
Mhm.
So my husband's a doctor. He had a really intensive job too, and I just had to lean on all sorts of family and friends to make it happen.
Mhm.
But they were all great. They all let me do that, and it was just amazing.
Yeah. Hmm. So when you went to that first intensive, Guruji was teaching. Was Geeta helping at that point? Prashant, were they?
Actually, I was at the moment where it was handed to Geeta, and Guruji was in the room. So
Okay.
he was circulating and
Mhm.
adjusting. I had one really funny experience where I was so tense that my trapezius were like around the back of my head.
Mhm.
And I didn't know he was there. He came up and just slapped my trapezius down, and I pretty much jumped to the ceiling. And then I turned around, and he was bent over laughing because it was so quick, my response. And we were both laughing. And then I finally realized what he was teaching there. Yeah, it was hard not to turn around and stare at Guruji because that was like, there's B.K.S. Iyengar, there's Guruji. And Geeta was teaching. I remember being called out on that once, like, hey, eyes on the teacher.
Okay.
So it was very interesting to be there in that transition. And,
Mhm.
later I was there for Abhi's transition to
Mhm.
teaching from Guruji as well and from Geeta ji. So yeah, I got to see that, and I'm glad I did. I took a lot from that.
Mhm. Yeah. I want to ask you about the art of teaching, but before we get into that, can you share any of your kind of lessons learned from Guruji or Geeta ji over the years of you going to the Institute?
Hmm. Yes. For me, again, I was already a little bit of a physical person, having had that history, but
Mhm.
it was performance and forced kind of gymnastics wasn't really an aliveness within.
Mhm.
And I think, to put it simply, Guruji and Gitaji kind of taught us to listen with our bodies. Like
Mhm.
these instructions would just go through some kind of filter in the mental body, but they would really get seated right in your body. And then you knew if they didn't, and that was also valuable. It's
Mhm.
like if you didn't, and you felt like an emptiness or a lack of response, that was even more valuable in a way. Maybe not more, but certainly valuable to feel absences of intelligence in the body.
Mhm.
The accent for us was at the beginning, I can hear it really well now. I can understand the English with the accent, the Indian accent, really well. But at first, I really couldn't that well. So there's part of you just really wide-eyed, like, I want to get this. So you're just open, open, open.
Mhm.
So that on the physical asana side was there. And I remember coming in on Guruji saying, to a group, yoga really helps with emotional intelligence where you don't let the emotions overcome you. That you get like he called it humaneness, which was such an interesting use of the word for that situation. And I realized that that was really true for me. Being away from my kids and being a person who can be very anxious. Yoga's been so valuable in keeping in check and being overwhelmed by those things. And I'm always just amazed at how a simple yoga practice can put things back in balance if I'm feeling out of balance.
Mhm.
And then also watching the books come out of him in progression with light on yoga, light on pranayama, light on the sutras, I felt like, yeah, that is the natural progression in a yogi for us too. And those were powerful, huge things to bring to the world. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's another teaching, like don't try to rush it, just let it come out with your experience, making you ready to hear.
Mhm.
So and Gita was similar, very much demanding our presence. I would always go early, wait in line to go in so I could be near the front. I really liked being close to it. And she didn't know your name or, any of that. It was just now you, and you felt that really fresh contact with your own inner intelligence coming to meet that. We would all get together at night and take notes, and so it was hard to get it into words. And it was nice to have other people to reflect back what they heard and what you heard, and it'd be so interesting what they heard and what you heard.
Yeah.
And she, in her later years of teaching, would more focus. I mean, she would certainly teach everyone, but then there was this one person she would teach, and then we would all look at that. So the art of seeing came big with Gita, watching
Mm.
her teach and having her, help us see what she was seeing in one body. That was
Mm.
big. With
Yeah. Did you spend any time with them outside of the hall?
well, I had one amazing experience with Guruji in that at the '93 convention in Ann Arbor, I proposed this idea of a theatrical presentation of, and then wondered why did I just say that? Of having the asanas presented with the story of the asana, the mythical story behind the asana presented. And
Wow.
so I put this out. Lori Blakeney was the convention chair, and she's like, "Great, do it." And then I went, but I did. I found an amazing actor who was telling the story. We had a troupe of Bharat Janacham dancers telling the story with dance. And then we had yogis at the back of the stage, including Lori Blakeney, who doing the asanas
Oh, wow.
at the same time. So this storyteller was great. He came out with this drum and he was all dressed up in this great outfit. And he was a wonderful actor, Malcolm Tulip. He brought so much gusto to it, but I had to write the thing, right? I worked with a woman, Erica, what's her last name? But she was the director, and she was really like being with an Iyengar yoga teacher as a raw student. I mean, she's like, nope, that doesn't sound like it's talk. It's said. It sounds like it's written. She kept sending me back to the script to do it over and over again until it flowed. We had really nice choreography of the asanas behind us. That was another beautiful offering by Janet Lilly.
Mhm.
And, it was really came together. I just realized all the parts of something like that. I had no idea what was involved, the lighting design, everything. It was presented on the Power Center stage, which is a really significant theater in Ann Arbor.
Mhm.
So I got to sit next to Guruji watching it. And I had no idea if this was going to fly or not. I took a few liberties with these stories when there wasn't one like Utthita Trikonasana. I just felt like we had to have that, but there's no like mythical story behind Utthita Trikonasana. So I came up with some other things. I was just a little nervous sitting, next to him, watching something that, I didn't know if I had stepped on any important things, but he loved it. And
Oh,
he really did. And I was at a friend's house later where he was, and he was just really, really positive about it. And he went up on stage and, just said you know, this was really appreciated. So
That's,
that was quite a moment for me.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
Wow. So I had kind of thought that maybe the performance at the Light on Life tour in Estes Park
Mhm.
was kind of the first time any group did that, but here you had it done many years.
93. Yeah. The one in New York also came after that. That was really beautiful. Yes, that was the Light on Life tour. I think you might be thinking of New York because that was choreographed, I think, by James.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did it at
they
the
did. Okay. All right. I was there. I was thinking of Krishna Das was there too. But anyway, yeah, yeah, that was huge. And Geeta, I came into the house a few times, when there was hardly anybody. They wouldn't really do that when there was a group, but I was there once when there was hardly any foreign students there, and it was really nice to see just the homemaker, the at-home situation in their lovely home. And when I was there in 2018, I observed Geeta was, that was the year that she passed on, and I was there before the convention. I was just there as a regular student. But what I observed then was really cool too. It was Geeta in the family setting as a cherished, loved sort of grandmother figure because my apartment was so close to their house. I could just see these settings where they were
Mhm.
just in there. And it's just been a thing for me being a mother. When I started going to Pune, it was rare to be a mother there. And it was really hard to be away from my kids. And it's always been kind of a out there piece, but not anymore. I'll be some other. And
Mhm.
it's really nice to see. It was nice for me to see Geeta in that setting, and it's really nice for me to see Avi as a mother and be so amazing as a teacher at the Institute. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I really like that piece.
Yeah, it's really special. And her kids travel with her when she
Oh, I
goes
know.
to conventions and things.
When
Yeah.
she started Zooming, and they were just in the background. It
Yeah.
was so delightful. I remember once we had a class and she just turned the camera to them playing on the ropes
Mm.
and said, "Remember this part of yoga?" They were just really the two of them were in two different pelvic swings, just fooling around. And she's like, "Come on, folks, we got this too. Get inside and be a little
Mm.
more playful inside." It was really nice.
Yeah, I love that. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So then in 1990, that was the year of the art of teaching. And right? Was it 1990?
I think it was 95.
Oh, 95. Okay.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
that. Yeah.
yep, that's right. So for the listeners, the art of teaching was done in Chicago. Guruji was visiting, and was it like a small regional convention happening there?
Well, yes, it was on a tour. I think that he started out west, should know for sure which California city he started in. But yeah, we were sort of the last stop
Hmm.
and some mega classes, but it wasn't a major convention.
Hmm.
It was, I mean, we had a dinner with Guruji. We could tag along as he did some of the sights of Chicago, a boat tour and going up. Yeah, there was a lot of that other stuff around the visit. And then of course we didn't know it was to be called the art of teaching and that it would be filmed or anything. There was just a little box you checked on your form, like would you be willing to be part of a teaching demonstration? And I checked the box. And then it turned out to be on a stage with lights and filming. I did not realize that, but we were game. We did
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
But the unusual thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is we were assigned asanas, and
yeah.
that's not what happened. So
Uh-huh.
if you see that and everybody looks a little stunned, it's because you were supposed to teach something else, and you were just hauled out there to teach what they assigned. I found this picture of me and Guruji with My
Uh,
the asana they popped out was Parvrita Trikonasana. I thought I was teaching Adho Mukha Svanasana.
uh-huh.
So of course your brain's going, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a lot. There's a lot of great stuff in that.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, I mean, afterwards, I felt a little crestfallen about it, but my teacher said to me, it wouldn't matter what you said, that he just wanted to use whatever you guys said to teach with, you know? So get
Yeah.
out of the way, get your ego out of the way, and recognize that you are serving a valuable resource. You're as a valuable resource for him to teach with, which he
Hmm.
did. He taught a lot in that session. And for me, I could do the asana, but my mind was clicking along with something I had read. I'm, embarrassed to admit I had read an article, probably in Yoga Journal or something, about Parvita Trikonasana. I'm like searching for this information. And then
Hmm.
and which made me say completely wrong things. And then I did the asana. And I remember Guruji like, what you're saying would not produce this, you know? I did the asana. And then he taught with my asana, which I could do.
Hmm.
What I got from that personally was, listen to your body. It was right in your body. And if I
Hmm.
had not been so mentally frozen, I could have more tapped into what he had been saying beforehand, which would have, you know, blend seamlessly into what I was doing in the asana. But I was really mentally frozen from fear.
Yeah.
Uh, and And yet, he was good natured there. I think he called me out earlier because I had my hands behind my back and he's like, how can you, I was supposed to be assisting, like, how can you assist with hands behind your back? Very true. You should be kind of ready like a tennis player to help. But he
Hmm.
kept going to this, like talks. And my teacher at the time always had us never go like this. No, do not fold your arms in front. Always have your hands in the back. And Guruji wasn't saying to hold the hands in front either, but kind of got called out for holding my hands like I always did when I was listening to more of a, not speech, but, discussion about. And so that was valuable. And I remembered that forever, be ready. And what I really remembered from the Parvita Trikonasana was listen to your body. It was right in my body. And if I could have stayed tuned in, it would have come right away. But again, that's me trying to be right again. And it wasn't about being right. It really
Yeah.
wasn't. And in fact, that I think all the way through Iyengar Yoga, we cling to that. We want those correct things to
Yeah.
say and do. It can really be an obstacle to the
Hmm.
truth trying to emerge in your own body.
Hmm.
You're just hearing points all the time and trying to do it right. You actually can just be in that kind of mental
Yeah.
herbal thing that's not really going toward the soul.
Hmm.
I mean, I think that's why Geeta put as her first point in her Art of Teaching book, teach from the heart, not the brain.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? Well, you do the pose a lot until it comes through you and your body sees that body and knows what to say. I mean, even if you come in fully prepared in a brainy way, if you see a body and something's coming out of your body to help them, then you have to verbalize that. That's
Hmm.
teaching from the heart.
Hmm.
And I think it's easy to lose that with all of our wonderful words.
Yeah. Very valuable lesson and something for teachers to remember, especially when you're in front of people and it's like it's so hard to be there.
Mhm. It is.
Yeah.
And I think that becomes a teaching, even though it's not verbalized.
Hmm.
Like in that video, I hadn't watched that actually since it happened.
Hmm.
'Cause I know,
Watch it when we put it up. When I put it up.
pretty weird to see yourself 35 years younger
Yeah.
and remember it. But then I got a lot more out of it this time. Of course, I was,
Yeah.
35 years. but I remember, and I am a friend of Kathleen Wright. She's in that video, and he is so compassionate with her because, she gets put into Ardha Chandrasana and trembling. And he's like, now, if this happened to me as a teacher, I would, so he brings it right into the teaching, even
Mm-hmm.
your nervousness, which is why I'm bringing it up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's so much there, to encourage us really to be human.
Uh-huh.
And people want that. I mean, if you have something that you're challenged with, you're not supposed to go on and on about it because it's not about you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can quickly use another student or say, I want you to see this and still, not call everybody's attention to your situation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all sorts of things like that that I think help us be more present with the people we're with, yet still provide the teaching and not get bogged down with the other limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was quite a thing. I'm going to watch it again. I've only seen it once now, but plan on watching it again.
Yeah. Things each time, I bet. How about what, because when you're watching it as a viewer, you only see the stage and you and your colleagues up there and Guruji. What was the audience like? Because you could see Guruji, stand out there and talk to the audience. Don't you laugh. This happens to you too, things like that. He was really
Yeah,
funny throughout. He was
yeah.
really funny throughout.
Well, yeah, it was an offering at the convention to go watch it, of course. So those were all participants in the convention. It
Mhm.
wasn't the general public. There's probably some general public there. I was thinking as I watched it this time that people popping into those good shirshasanas had to
Mhm.
be a little impressive. It's sort of like you sort of feel like these people don't know anything. And then, those were gorgeous shirshasanas and then Urdhva it's just like, wow. And then he goes at those and makes them better and better.
Mhm.
So I was impressed, I think, being in what you're saying. What was it like to be in the audience and then just see? I mean, think of the time, right? This is yoga's everywhere now. There was no internet. I mean, there was no awareness of this. And all of a sudden,
Right.
you see these people come into these difficult poses with confidence and,
Uh-huh.
and get corrected to go more. I think that was probably something for the audience members. But I don't remember, I mean, it was bright lights. I don't remember seeing them at all personally. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
wishing I was there, not here.
Aren't you glad you were there?
Glad. I'm very glad, especially for that moment. I just remember this moment between Guruji and I where I don't know what the words were, but it was just like, what? You can do this pose really well. And then realizing I can, you
Yeah.
know, and that was there for me, but I didn't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, the way that we are sort of a corrective method, we correct a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It can kind of translate that you don't know anything, but then the other messages, practice, listen, be in your body. I think that is more important, actually, that, you can get the framework of the pose and be in it to the point where things come for you that then later get words put on them, where
Mm-hmm.
we always think, oh, you look something up to find out how to do it. No, it came from doing it first and from watching someone else do it and see their obstacles, and then the words came.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, jumping to the words and not trusting my own, what could have told me easily, you know, direction wise, because I was doing it. But no, I jumped to the words. But I feel like as a current students, that's still really important for us to trust our bodies and listen to them, and especially as they're changing and aging, listen
Mm-hmm.
to them in this new body. It's really the art of yoga is that, not these fancy words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Wow. Did you and your colleagues get together afterwards and rehash it all and talk about?
I think there was another event pretty quickly. I just remember being I don't know, I want to say depressed, but deflated.
Uh,
And then getting told that by my teacher, like, hey, not about
yeah.
you.
Hmm.
So that was another lesson. And
Hmm.
then there were a lot of events after that. So I remember just being in a car going to the next thing. But it was funny because Kathleen and I are in communication and we were thinking about it recently because this just came out and having our memories of it. So,
Hmm. Okay, good.
yeah,
And it's now such a valuable tool. I mean, I now put this out uh,
right.
for the birthdays in December, and for those listening, it's available to members on INOS members and under the member benefits. I've been hearing from people around the country that are using it for learning, and it's really valuable. I mean, we're so fortunate that that was recorded and that you were all there and
Right.
to provide that for us. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad everyone did it. I love seeing my friends up there now. I mean, that was really fun watching the video, seeing them, you know, do the asanas and be, again, foils for this teaching. Where
Hmm.
he was going through the Urdhva There's just, and
Hmm.
I was just studying with Avi recently on that online, and again, the shaping and what to work on in the shaping and what, that's just so nice to see from the outside. In the asanas, it's hard, but to see it from the outside in and then try it, really
Hmm.
valuable.
Yeah. Especially something like Urdhva.
Mhm. Yeah. And, as observing him practice over the years, like I said, I didn't go every year. It would be pretty long breaks in between. And I started to go just to public classes then after the intensive stopped happening. And I went to a few conventions over there. But watching him in that practice corner was so valuable as he aged and just seeing the immense presence when
Hmm.
even he was in a fully supported pose was really something. I always tried to set up close to his practice corner in our practices. We always had these 3-hour practices in between the classes, and it was just really something to
Hmm.
witness that, And it's to this day, as I'm aging now, it's still with me. Like you just find a way.
Hmm.
And being in the shaping with your mind and body in that process it's not about, you know, pushing into a fancy arm balance at all.
Hmm.
It's really about the presence. Again, trusting that it will come,
Hmm.
or just being with it as it comes. Or I
Hmm.
really like him saying, stop doing yoga, start being in yoga. We were
Hmm.
doing, and he's like, you people.
Yeah.
We heard a lot of you people. So I still use that as a big guide for myself, you know, when I feel like I'm doing too much.
Hmm.
And for my students, I'm really having us pause when the pose is most, is done as it can be and trying to be in it, but also in between the asanas. I feel like that's valuable to come out and sense the change.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's, a lot of times you just jump to the next thing, but not in an artificial way, but just, tadasana in between the standing asanas. Like, we say we don't teach, flow, but we do. You come out of a standing asana and you're in tadasana.
Yeah.
Tadasana, not tadasana. I feel like that's our flow, right?
So, what are some of the things, maybe advice that you would want to give to new teachers coming up? Guruji isn't with us any longer, Geetaji isn't with us any longer. How do we hold on to their teachings and the importance of Iyengar Yoga?
Mhm. Well, I think if you don't have the means to study with them remotely, which I would highly recommend if you do, even beginner classes, even if you consider yourself beyond that, it's really valuable to see how they teach beginners and be in that mode with them as a student, as a
Mm,
remote student.
that is really good advice.
It's really changed in their availability. It was pretty hard to get that when we even went to Pune. The beginner room was upstairs, very small. But now it's really accessible to watch them develop beginners.
Mm,
And I feel like when Geeta had her time to write those books, the preliminary course and the intermediate course, we really got a lot watching her, go through all of those Urdhva Hastasana arm extensions first. I'm like, oh, we hadn't done that. I'm like, yeah, do this. Just things like that, like the order of the sequences in those books is genius, brilliant. So I would say if you don't have the means to go to Pune currently and study with them in that way, that a lot of this was distilled into those later books.
mhm,
And it's like the gray bars with, beyond how to get into the asana, then how to be in the asana are really powerful.
mhm,
And there's many more things you'll discover having done that. That will be new gray bars in your practice. But that and Lois Steinberg's books have like verbatim words from teachings of
mhm,
asanas, and you could just pick one and big paragraph of points, but just do a few of them and really interpret them in your body, where you can say them in your own way, in a plain way that makes sense. Like don't try to talk like Puna, but
mhm,
if something makes sense in your body and their language is pithy enough to really create a response, then yes, use that. But when you make up stuff on your own, I think there's another video of me teaching for Geeta. I had made up this pressure of the back foot in a standing pose as to seal your outer foot to the floor. And then
mhm.
Geeta says, "What means seal?" And I had no idea what she meant by what means seal. My brain was like, "What?" But her point was seal is very permanent, you know? And so
Mm.
she guided me to say stamp your outer foot, which is
Ah,
just, not can never get it up. So language is very important, and some of the words you'll see when it's verbatim, like in Lois's books, is really, really helpful, but it needs to feel natural. So I would say to work with your body with the instructions and see if it makes sense in your body, and then use it in your teaching. Because
mhm,
you have we didn't have those. That's really valuable to have those books. And Guruji's later books, like or Yoga for Sports. This is actually a great book. It might be hard to get now. They should reprint it, but shows stiffer bodies in poses, for athletes, things to
mhm,
do, things there. And of course, study with teachers who seem to honor the system. Uh,
mhm,
Yeah, I remember being part of a panel where the other panel members were going on about their experiences back there and thinking, yes, but it's gone on. I mean, this didn't stop with them. And
mhm,
I think the way it's being brought out in Pune now is brilliant. I
mhm.
mean, they take that camera around and they show
Yeah,
exactly what they're teaching. I mean, we had to just figure that out. It's really more accessible than ever. So I
yeah,
do not feel like you missed it. I feel like it's being translated in a way we can really hear right now.
yeah. That's a good point.
And Prashant, of course, the other present side of yoga is coming through beautifully with Prashant's work. So that's got to be. I mean, we would always, we'd go to his classes and we'd go to Gita's classes, and it'd be like, they really complemented each other
Mhm,
so well. And
mhm,
it still does. I mean, so I would highly recommend that for a deeper, not deeper, but a different take on it. And
mhm,
he has things available through the INOS website. You don't have to go to Pune.
mhm, mhm.
So it's there. And
Yeah.
then, maybe getting a study group where you can help to understand it together.
Mhm,
I would recommend that. I I've always lived pretty far from the core in Michigan has been in Ann Arbor, and I'm 5 hours north. So I would go down and study with senior teachers down there whenever I could. But, I realized it's a commitment to
Yeah.
study that. But it's really great if you can do it.
Yes. Yes.
Really meant a lot to me.
Hmm. That reminds me of what Prashant has been saying. He does the Saturday morning talks, and he has been talking about yoga off the mat, like it's not just doing the poses, it's you learn by talking about it with people. And and he encouraged talk about it, write about it, read about it. Like that's all part of the learning.
He used to make funny analogies about our pride at even being in Pune
Mm.
and talk about like a fly at Harvard saying, I went to Harvard. He would just poke our egos all the time and just say, get over yourselves. It was great.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
great.
yeah, it's great. Hmm. Did you ever get to have any meals with them?
Yes. You know what was great in those intensives? They would one night put out a spread for us of catered food
Hmm.
in the lobby.
Hmm.
And it was delicious Indian food, of course. They knew just where to get it. And we would sit around and just eat this food and visit with everyone. I did pull out another picture of, this kind of hanging out time. There's you just saw them relaxed and in their regular clothes. And one of those times we were at a home. We were staying in a home where we were friends with the I guess you could call them the landlords because we were all in like apartments. These houses were huge and they had little apartments and we were renting from them, but we were friends with them and they would invite us for a meal as well. And unfortunately, one time it was on the same day.
Mm.
And we couldn't be rude to our hosts at our family's home. So we had to like eat there. And then it was like the day that we were given the meal in the lobby. And oh my gosh, Pete Spoogle and I were there together and it was just like you had to do it. You had and then was like, take second. We were like could not take anymore. And so that was a funny one. And then another one was I was in the intensive with Ramanand Patel, and he had a friend who was a professor at the University of Pune. And as the month wore on, the city kind of started to get to you, and we did have the weekends off. So Ramanand asked this professor if he would lead us on a hike.
Oh.
And so whoever volunteered to go, it was only like 8 of us. We had to wake up like felt like the middle of the night and get to this train station to Lonavala where we were going to begin the hike to Rajmashi, which was a pretty strong hike up to the top of this mountain.
Mm.
And I thought it was going to be a country hike. Well, it turned out to be a real trek, honestly. And it was so early to get the start that we were like, well, we'll just eat, we'll eat at the base when we get there. Well, there happened to be something called a bond where all the businesses shut down in political protests. So nothing was open. So we get
Mm.
there and there is no food. And so then we start this so-called country hike. And
Mhm.
I mean, we're like tiptoeing around little streams, and then pretty soon we're walking through rivers up to our thighs, and we're just, you know, it was so hard. I mean, Pince and I still laugh about it. It was so hard. And then you'd see these women coming down with this big milk jug on their heads, just floating down the hill, and you're like, and and this professor had said to Ramanan, now, are your people fit? And Ramanan looked at this skinny little professor and thought, yeah, my people are fit.
Mm.
Well, we watched how he moved. This guy was like water as well, like the woman carrying the milk. He knew how to hike with not much effort. And we were way too effortful. And
Uh,
so we were trying to climb with this effort. Okay, so we get to the top and they had tea up there, and of course we all wanted it. And then we see how they're cleaning the teacups, is just swishing them in a bucket of dirty water. And like, what did I just do? But anyway, we had our tea, we got to the top, we got back down, barely got to the train. And the Iyengars had that night been offering us, tea and stuff in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
So the Iyengars found out what Ramanand had done, and they couldn't believe it. I mean, this is
Well,
not something they would ever suggest. And so we heard later that Prashant said to Ramanand, "Don't tell me who went on the hike. I want to see in class tomorrow, if I can pick them out." So I think I was pretty easy to pick out because there was one extreme twist where I'm facing the person next to me. It's just like if you're doing a twist on the wrong side, you're facing the person next to you. And I'm like, whoops, we were just so out of it. We were so exhausted. So that was kind of actually a treasured experience that was very difficult at the time, but I really treasure it. It
Mhm.
was it was so great, A, to be out of the city, B, to be physical like that and learn all those things and appreciate the local culture.
Mhm. Mhm.
So every time I've gone after that, I've tried to do something out there, to really get the sense of India and where you are and all that, but
Yeah,
not anything that extreme. No, that
great.
that was, that was extreme.
Yeah. Oh, that's really neat. I've been to Pune twice and then the last time I went to Belur for a week with
Oh, nice.
Prashant. Yeah, but you know, just haven't had the time or fortune to, explore, but that's definitely.
Mhm. Well, you went to Balur. That's actually a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. I have not done
Definitely,
it.
definitely different than Pune.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see a lot of India doing that. So
hmm
I went to the caves of Janta and Ellora a couple of times, and I would recommend that if you go back. That's really worth doing.
Well, Mary, this has been really nice. Thank you for
Well, thank
joining.
you for inviting me.
Is there anything else you want to get in before we close?
Keep on loving Iyengar Yoga. I mean, we are all Iyengar Yoga. It's very important right now, I think. Give
Yeah,
people presence and heart. So,
yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to this episode of On the Light. In my conversation with Mary, one thing that really resonated with me was her reflection on the sense of calm that can arise after practice. She also spoke about the importance of pausing after coming out of an asana, taking a moment to observe the changes the practice has created within us. With that in mind, I'd like to close today with a short excerpt from Iyengar Yoga, Chapter 9, Journey to the Consciousness. In this passage, Guruji says, Yogasana is neither a quick fix method to repair damage nor a mere exercise to attain a healthy body. During asana practice, various biochemical changes occur in the body and the brain. These transmutations automatically discipline and culture the mind, elevating it to a higher plane of consciousness. Yogasana is thus a science of chitta vritti nirodha, or calming of the consciousness. If you enjoyed this episode of On the Light, I invite you to like, share, or subscribe. And if you're able, a small monthly donation can help sustain the continued production of this podcast. Thank you for listening. Namaskar.